go. Hey, greetings and welcome to the first episode of Favorite Funny. And it's coming to you from Radio Titans in Little Rock, Arkansas right now. We used to be based in LA, but I'm excited because the first guest that I'm having is beloved by people in Little Rock, but deserves to be better known nationwide. So I'm glad I'll be able to give him the exposure, hopefully, that he deserves. And Craig O'Neill is, I would say, Little Rock's king of all media, much cleaner and nicer than Howard Stern. But he
but I do think like Howard Stern.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, you started as a radio DJ, and you were the king of morning radio in Little Rock for many years. And then you went into being the local CBS anchorman. You started as a sports director, moved up to the KTHV Channel 11 CBS anchorman, and you've done 50 years in broadcasting.
51, Carl. 51.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I added a year.
Yeah.
I added a year since I wrote that bio.
Oh, okay.
Took me a year to write that bio.
But there we go. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Craig O'Neill. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Our studio audience is,
Oh, they're going nuts. We have to mute them, ladies and gentlemen, or else that's all you'd see is the studio audience if they weren't muted.
All right, so I'm gonna jump right into this. So the point of Favorite Funny is I'm asking people their favorite funny stories from various parts of their career and life, and asking them also what's their favorite funny book, movie, TV show, comedian, etc. And the goal is that I will be asking all types of people stuff that are celebrities, but it is designed to be an oasis of not being political whatsoever, because I'm kind of a jerk on the right, and a lot of people hate me and said, we'll do it if you never mention your politics. So there we go.
Well, now, here's the thing. If people don't agree with your politics, you're a jerk. If they do agree with your politics, you're the most insightful genius they've ever heard of. Yeah, it's gotten down to that.
Exactly. Well, okay, so I'm going to jump in. The reason why we've become close is that when I was 9 years old, maybe 10, 1981.
I'm going to start getting teary-eyed.
1981, I just started listening to you. I had just come back from vacation seeing my grandma in San Diego, and there was a novelty song that played there, but was unknown to you, called Shut Up, You Face. And anyways, the thing was, I won Stump the State. I don't know how I won, because I remember the question to this day. There's no reason a 9 or 10-year-old kid should know this question. It was, how many acres was the farm or the ranch in an old 60s Western show called The Big Valley? And I think you gave multiple choice, and I guessed right. And I called in, and I had a very nasal voice because I broke my nose as a little kid, only got it fixed as an adult. And I had such a funny little voice, and you couldn't believe that this kid won. And then while I'm getting praised and told what my prizes were, I go, can you please shut up, You Face? And you're like, what? And you thought I was telling you to shut up. And the thing was that you thought I was so, I guess, precocious, and that you invited, when we got off the air, you said, hey kid, can you keep calling me? And so I called very regularly until my voice changed 2 or 3 years later. For like 2 or 3 years, I was a regular fixture on Craig O'Neill's show. So anyway, what are your memories of all that?
My memories are when your voice changed, you were out. You were cute until your voice changed. Isn't that the way hormones work?
Yeah.
You're cute until the hormones kick in, and then you're out. Sorry. And now you're trying to get back. So, but the difference is I'm on your show now.
Yes.
And I'm sorry I'm not near as cute. By the way, I don't think I've ever told you, and I'm going to tell everybody at the same time I'm telling you, you got tremendous response. One of the reasons I had you back was my manager talked to me after the show that day and said, who was that kid? So you were right on the cusp, right on the verge of the big time. And I never related that to you until now. So
that's
why. And now you're going to look back and go, golly, what an idiot I was. I should have pursued it. Should have gotten an agent at the age of 9.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I should have gone into radio. I don't know how I never did. It's amazing because I love podcasting and radio.
Same
Okay,
difference.
so as far as your story, what's a favorite story of how you fell in love with radio and decided to do it?
Well, my story begins with tuna fish on white bread. You ever had tuna fish right out of the can on white bread, Carl?
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It is good, especially
Yeah.
if it's Wonder Bread, which has no redeeming value at all, and tuna fish right out of the can. And in 1965, I was a growing boy. I too was undergoing hormonal change. And my grandfather was a former Army man who guarded the pantry. We grew up with my grandparents. He guarded the pantry like it was Fort Knox. And I wanted a late night treat, and I had to wait for him to go to bed so I could get into the pantry and get tuna fish and Wonder Bread. So he would know. Well, if you're going to have a midnight snack, you got to watch something on TV. So I started watching The Tonight Show.
Oh my God. Okay, I have
And
a story about that too.
that's
Yeah.
how it happened. It started with tuna fish and white bread and a need to watch something. And I fell in love with Johnny Carson because he was smooth, he was debonair, he was so funny, he was polished. He didn't care if his joke bombed, he could save it just by one of those looks. Crowd loved him, ratings were through the roof. He could talk to these beautiful women. Just, it was phenomenal. And I just thought he was terrific. And so I read all about him, and I decided that his life would be my blueprint for my life. And he started out in radio. So boom, that's exactly what I did. I took a page from the Johnny Carson book and started out in radio.
That's
and
wild.
never left.
Yeah, well,
Except for TV.
I never, I don't think I ever told you. I have Johnny Carson in a way to think also, because when I was 4 and I broke my nose in a very funny accident, that's another story. I wound up in the hospital, and I was stuck there for several hours late into the night, and the Tonight Show came on. I had no idea what it was. I'm 4 years old, but I just remember seeing this old guy, because Johnny always had gray or white hair by that point.
Yeah.
And he was making all these people laugh, and for whatever reason that registered with me, and I never forgot that. And I started telling. I wrote a funny story in first grade at St. Edward's Catholic school in Little Rock, and the teacher liked it so much that she sent me on what I call my first stand-up tour. I got to read aloud in front of the class my story, first through fourth grades. And then they kept letting me, whenever I wanted to write something funny, they would let me go and do a little tour. And anyway, so the thing is that that was much later, I fell in love with David Letterman and his morning show when I was sick one day.
Right.
And Letterman was my obsession, like Carson was yours. Yeah.
So you had to have a broken nose and then have an upset stomach to really fall in love with comedy.
Yeah. So
the comedians are very closely related to your primary care physician.
Well, you were known for prank calls and playing other characters. And there was a story in the Arkansas Times magazine about a year ago about you. It was a phenomenal article. Look it up, folks. And you tell the story of your craziest call. And I came home. I'm very open about this now. I'm getting used to talking about it. I moved back home from LA because I was suffering from horrendous manic depression, and nothing was making me laugh the first couple months I was home. But I read that story, and that thing about the prank call was so funny. It broke through. And I think that was the one time I laughed out loud in the first couple months until I got treated right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what was that crazy prank call? Do you remember?
Well, I can't remember the one in the Arkansas Times. I know that there were hundreds of them
somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah, it might have been.
Hang on, I'm pausing. Hang on.
All right, now here's what I'm thinking. It's the call to Texas before Arkansas was to play Texas for the very last time in regular season at War Memorial Stadium. and I called and talked to an assistant football coach as the groundskeeper at War Memorial Stadium, saying that we didn't want to turn on the lights to letter the end zone. You know how they'll put the letters of the teams in the end zone? And we didn't want to turn on the lights. It was getting dark. The young UALR student, college student who was an intern, was supposed to letter the field, and he was sleep deprived, and he accidentally put an extra S on Texas. And so the assistant coach says, well, what does that mean? I said, well, right now in the south end zone, it says Texas. And at that point, I'm trying not to laugh. And the assistant coach goes, well, we just can't have that in the end zone on national TV. And I said, well, can't you put 2 lines through it and make it a dollar sign? He didn't go with that either. So, by the way, the call goes on, and until he says he threatens to get to athletic directors, which at that time was the late Frank Broyles, who was like a god in college football for Arkansas. And that's when I called it off. I had to tell him who I was.
Oh my God.
But that was one of the most famous calls.
That's great.
But there were a ton of them, Carl, until some jerk invented caller ID.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
If I find the guy that invented caller ID, he's going to hear from me. He ruined a perfectly good career.
Wild. Yeah, but couldn't you just go star 67?
Well, we tried that, and when we did, we interrupted the recording stopped.
Oh, wow.
So for some stupid reason, so that didn't work. The classic case was when I called the governor's office, when Governor Huckabee, for those of you who don't know, you might know Mike Huckabee from Fox TV. He was a former Baptist preacher. He became Arkansas's governor, but he was a former Baptist preacher, to the point that when they had the governor's conference in Las Vegas, there was a big debate on whether the former Baptist preacher, Arkansas governor, would go to Sin City, Las Vegas, for the governor's conference. Well, he did. And I called his office as a pit boss from a casino in Las Vegas, saying there's a guy that says he's the governor of Arkansas. His name is Huckabee. And they said, Huckabee? Yeah, Huckabee. And he's run up a tab of over $68,000 and gave us this number and told to call because they would verify that he was good for it. Well, I had him going, Carl, to the point where in my head I'm going, oh, this is gold. This is comedy gold. This is going to be great. And then there's a pause, and you can tell they're looking down at the screen going, and it says B98.5, and they go, Craig O'Neill, what are you doing on our phone? Get off. Man. Oh, I had him right there.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Wow. Well, okay, so
I ended up winning the TV.
Yeah. So, do you have has there ever been a funny moment in the TV career, like a mishap?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh my gosh, incredible.
Like what's an example you think?
Well, the classic story. My favorite story begins with the locker room at the University of Arkansas football team. The locker room at that time, for all the players for the University of Arkansas, they had recessed lockers. There was no door on the locker. It was a recessed locker, and in the back of the locker was a mirror. So the players, after practice, I guess, could get all beautified. And there's a mirror in the back of the locker. Well, the night that Darren McFadden, a running back for Arkansas, had a record night and was the talk of college football, we had to interview Darren McFadden after the game. So our reporter bends down and our cameraman gets right in face. He's sitting in front of his locker to get Darren's reaction, to get the answers to the questions. And he's answering the questions, and unbeknownst to us, reflected in that mirror in the back of the locker is a naked Razorback football player who just gotten out of the shower. He's drying himself off. Fortunately, he never turned around. It was just his backside. But he's drying himself off, and we don't even see it until it hits the air.
Oh.
And the phone in the newsroom is ringing off the hook. And my beloved coworkers at Channel 11, when I get off the air and walk back in, they say, You're taking it. That's your mistake. You answer the phone. I swear to you, first caller. Hello, THB11. And the woman goes, do you know what you just showed? And I go, yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry. We didn't know. We had to interview Darren McFadden. He's the talk of college football. He had a tremendous record-setting night. We had to get the interview. We didn't realize that was going to go. And she stops me and she goes, no, hold it. You don't understand. I'm pretty sure that was my grandson. I'd know his booty anywhere.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, that reminds me of a funny story. At one time, I was staying with, I have this very eccentric, wealthy aunt in an LA suburb called Sherman Oaks. And when I lived out there, I would go visit her every couple of months. And one time I stayed overnight. I get in the shower and her bathroom didn't have a lock on it, the one that had the shower, because she had a sister she cares for who's disabled. And, it, you know, just to make sure that the door never jams up if the sister has a problem, right? Well, I'm in the shower, doing my thing, minding my business, and all of a sudden the door opens, and I'm screaming, "Oh my God! No. Oh my God!" And I'm covering myself and yelling, and she goes, "Oh, come on! Like I haven't seen it all." And I was like, you know, when I was a baby, yeah. So, anyways,
makes you wonder about her, doesn't it? If you've seen it all.
Well, when I was a kid,
reputation did she have?
No, she changed me as a baby, you know. But anyway, so
well, no wonder you went to comedy. And all this time we thought it was because you had a broken nose. No, it was that degenerate aunt.
Yes,
but she's rich.
Yes, always important. So, okay, so I want to. A lot of comics are going to be guests, and they're talking about, you know, being on the Tonight Show or whatever they'll be talking about. And with you, your dream, of course, was to get to the Tonight Show. But I remember two things. You told me to ask you about playing the White House, and also I remember that there was some time I heard about that Johnny Carson either live or did a taped message for you at an event.
Right. Right.
So tell me about those.
Well, in 1988, they roasted me, and
who roasted you?
The Diabetes Association, and on the board of the Diabetes Association. Yeah, there you go. And the Broken Nose Association.
Oh, sure.
And the Narcoleptic Association.
Exactly.
But on the board of the affiliates, NBC affiliates, the chairman of the NBC affiliates board was also on the board of the Diabetes Association. So he had a lot of weight with NBC. There was a writer's strike. Johnny Carson wasn't doing anything. So the night of the roast, he got Johnny, pulling his strings, he got Johnny Carson to call me on a phone call that was heard by 600 people at the big dinner. And it was phenomenal. It was 10 minutes long, and people to this day who were there say, you know, it was like you were talking to your next door neighbor. And I said, well, that's what he was. He was in my home every night when I was growing up. So it was like a visit with old friends, but he had everybody laughing. I was setting him up, and he was just, boom, he was zinging it. I can't remember any of this, but and also played the White House because I got to know Clinton. Clinton was governor so long, and he and I did so many events together and his social secretary was my wife's best friend, and was Hillary Clinton's birthday the first year they were in the White House.
Really?
Said, why don't you come up and we'll do a surprise party for Hillary? So we did, and I was the MC of the surprise party for Hillary, and I'll never forget it, Carl. What I was doing was a DJ. I'd play the music and have fun, and we'd do dances and stuff. And I'll never forget it. It was late at night, and once it was done, I'm packing up, and the two butlers who had been at the White House for years and years looked at me and said, man, we've been here forever. That is the best party we have ever seen at the White House.
That's awesome.
Well, it was awesome, but unfortunately, that was before Barack Obama had Lin-Manuel Miranda debut Hamilton. How are you going to top that?
Exactly.
So, I'm down in the top 5, I bet.
That's great. Yeah, you know, I'll just, because I like to also share stories while I'm doing these. I think I'm going to interject here and there like we are today. I have a very funny encounter with Clinton. I actually met him twice, and I caused an impact on national policy with the first one. I've never told the story publicly. In 1988, there was a tour of public policy experts that came to Little Rock. They were working on family issues, and it was one of the guests was and the organizer, I think, was a guy named Gary David Goldberg, who created Family Ties, the sitcom with Michael J. Fox.
Right.
And so I was 17. I was starting to write for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette because Catholic High was too cheap to have a newspaper the last 2 years I was there. And so I wrote for the Democrat Gazette, had a teen section, and I would write about something every week for them. And so I went to this event because I loved Family Ties. And so I wanted to meet Gary David Goldberg. It was my first celebrity interview ever, probably. And I go and I run up on stage after this event at UALR, and I try to just, get myself in a position where he can't leave without having to meet me or whatever, right? And I didn't set it up, didn't know how. And so I'm interviewing him. He was super cool, Goldberg, really nice. It was a great interview that pre-internet. I wish I could find it, but out of nowhere, Governor Clinton comes walking up, and there was a reception after that was for all these people because they were so big, and so I hear this. I hear somebody walk up, and I hear a foot tapping, and I look over, and it's Governor Clinton, and I'm just like, whoa, and so then. Clinton, says, waits for a moment that Goldberg's quiet, and says, "Gary, we got a reception, and I want you to, we really need to get you going over there." And Gary just looks at him because he was still wanting to give me an answer about something, and he says, "Governor, it will have to wait. I'm being interviewed by this man." And so Clinton just was like, "Well, excuse me," and he walks off. And 5 years later, when he was trying to pass healthcare reform, there was a story in the Entertainment Weekly, I'll never forget it, where they said that he recruited top Democrats in Hollywood to come up with creative ways of selling healthcare to the public, like coming up with a good PSA campaign. And so all these people were flown out on, and I'm not knocking Clinton for this. I'm just saying it's important to the point. All these people were flown out on taxpayer money to the White House. Rob Reiner was there, people like that, Ron Howard probably, and being asked, so how do we make good ads that'll sell healthcare? And they said that the one thing that went weird was that Gary David Goldberg was there, and he made it clear that he had flown on his own dime, that he didn't believe in using tax money for it, and he sat there, and they said, and he wound up saying to Clinton, out of nowhere, just explodes and says, "You know what?" And Goldberg was a total hippie, just like the parents in Family Ties. So I don't know why he had a problem with this, but he just said, "You know what? If you got to get a bunch of us to use fictional means to win people over, then your plan must be crap." Or he basically said that. And he just gets up and he leaves. And then the Entertainment Weekly said, rumor had it that the buzz was that they had a deep-seated feud going back to an appearance in Little Rock in 1988.
Oh, and right in the middle of you. Wow, you're right in the middle of that.
So I cost Americans health care for 15
How about
years
that?
until Obama. Yeah.
How about that?
And now I use Obamacare. But hey, so in that respect, God bless Hillary and God bless Obama. They're good. That was good policies. So anyway, but and then the other thing was, I'll just say with Clinton, I use this in my stand-up act. I met him 1991. I'm working at the Park Plaza movie theater, UA Park Plaza, and it was a mall movie theater. I'm at the concession stand. Clinton comes walking up to, or I started hearing people outside the mall, in the mall, freaking out. "Oh my God, it's him, it's him." I don't know if you got that reaction everywhere, but it was just amazing. And I was like, "Well, who is it, Jesus?" And Bill Clinton comes walking up. And to his credit, I always say he was dateless. he showed up with one guy, a guard or a friend or whatever. They're both in suits, and it was an election day for governor, 1990 election. And I was raised, my parents were very anti-Clinton. I came to kind of like him, but anyway, and but at the time I was like, oh God, please don't make me have to serve him. Please don't make me have to serve him. And he comes, sure enough, heading over to the concession stand, like he wouldn't. And Bill was a big boy then. And so he comes up to me at the concession stand, and I go, so what can I get you, Governor? Which I always thought would be cuter if I said it with a British accent. What can I get you, Governor? But so he says, well, I'll have a popcorn Coke, please. And I was like, okay, so this is all true, word for word. I said, so what size do you want? He goes, jumbo, of course. And I go, would you like butter with that, Governor? Come on, man, do you know me at all? So I take the jumbo tub of popcorn, put it under the butter machine, give it 5 squirts of butter, which I think was the legal limit, and I push it back to him. He looks at it, looks me in the eye, and he goes, come on. He goes, come on, man. I want you to hit it to tell you to stop. And I felt sexually harassed. I don't think it was the last time he ever said that word to anybody. And so I gave him 15 squirts of butter. I mean, and at the end he goes, did you vote today? And I was like, yes, I did. And I gave him that look like, not for you. And he just goes, which was, but he had an awesome handle on it. He just goes, all right, I just want to congratulate a young man like you for taking part of the process. Have a good day. And he walks off. And what he saw, it's kind of a funny thing to point out to people. His favorite movie is my dad's favorite movie, even though my dad hates him. It was High Noon. Okay. Oh. And so they both love that above all else. But Bill Clinton that day went to see a Southern corn pone comedy called Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Will? And it was like summer of 90. We had Die Hard 2, Dick Tracy, blockbusters, and he chose that. So I don't know what that says about him, but you know.
I think that was made in Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure, but he might have been checking that out to see if it, but I'm not gonna, that's all just, right. I can't.
No, it's cool. And sure. You guys are friends, and I came to like him as president in most respects. So anyway, so here's the thing.
Let's review here real quick, Carl. Yes. You're right in the middle of the healthcare debacle. And secondly, you were the first to witness his inability to control his appetite.
And also,
which would get him in trouble.
Also, let's not forget, he tested one of his lines on me. I want you to hit it till I tell you to stop. So I want you to send this to him and see if he has a sense of humor. Well, and if I could get Bill Clinton to be a guest. Bill, I'm serious. I came to really like you. I am a Republican. I thought you were great with the economy. You turned the deficit around. You kept us out of the stupid wars for 8 years. You're a pretty good guy. Anyway.
Well, now, hold on. I love Bill. He's my brother.
Oh, good.
However, it was the Bush tax increases that cost his election, but it was the Bush tax increases that helped bail out the economy in the late 90s. So it's all related, my friend. You will find the Democrats and Republicans are all related. It's not one and then the other. It's one interlocked with the other.
Yeah, and Clinton, he kept NAFTA going. That could have died after Bush.
Yeah.
I didn't like NAFTA, but it was something that it was interesting to me that I was like, wow, that was the first time I realized, because I was only like 21 or so when that was happening. And it was the first time I realized, oh, they really do interconnect, like you're saying, because he took a policy that was a total Bush thing. And I didn't like the Bushes, which is a whole other story. But he took a policy of his that could have died, and he kept it going. And I thought, well, that's odd. And but I guess it showed me that he was, a centrist, not the liberal that I had been raised to hate or whatever. So
see, we've crossed into politics. We didn't mean to do that. This is about funny.
You're right. Sorry, folks.
This is about funny. So let's get sometimes can be politics.
Well, let's get to the quiz here. Tell me what your favorite funny movie or movies are.
Favorite funny movie would be, well, first of all, I'm a big Marx Brothers fan.
Okay.
And Night at the Opera by the Marx Brothers, the scene where they're in the stateroom in the ship, in the boat, one of the greatest movie scenes of all time. Loved, let's see, loved, well, what are some of the movies I've loved? But anyway, the Marx Brothers right up there.
Yeah, well, you
at
mentioned
the
to me
top.
in the pre-interview, Animal House and Airplane.
Oh yeah, Animal House and Airplane, which we quote all the time. And we quote Airplane all the time in conversation. Animal House, because it came right from my era, right before my high school era. And all those characters I knew.
Oh, you mean
And
the setting of it was there, not the movie?
well, it was that time, that music, that style, that era. And I just thought it was brilliant. I just thought everything about Animal House, it just moves so true. It's so good. And comedy is truth. Comedy is the shortest distance between 2 points. It is the straightest line. It brings a truth, it eliminates a truth faster than any other form of entertainment, in my opinion. So there you go. And it does it with Animal House.
Yeah. And you like the Zucker brothers as filmmaker?
Oh, the Zucker brothers, and what they're doing is they're taking movie stereotypes and making them absurd.
Yeah.
And they can turn, and the scene that is still with me to this day is Lloyd Bridges, who I grew up watching on television as this matinee idol, upside down with his hair straight, sniffing, and he goes, I picked the wrong day to quit sniffing glue.
Yeah, that was good. Then you list Will Ferrell, but you say in moderation, and then Tina Fey.
Will Ferrell is good for about half a movie if you total it up. He can step over the line. But here's the thing about Will Ferrell: instant commitment. Instant commitment. If you give him a character and he's going to make it crazy, he is committed to that character instantly. There's no sense of any holding back, any inhibition between what he's after. And he's going to get you to laugh with that character. And that's what I admire about him.
What about Tina Fey?
And Tina Fey is so quick. She's, in education terms, she's what's called verbal linguistic. She can turn a phrase, she can take a phrase that you've heard a million times, turn it into comedy gold. And I just think she's brilliant.
And what about, okay, so your favorite comedian, of course, Johnny Carson, but also you say Jerry Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, his observational comedy and how he can take an everyday occurrence and turn that into just masterful punchline. I'll never forget have you seen the series Comedians in Cars Drinking Coffee?
Oh yeah, Netflix. It's brilliant. And also he has a documentary on Netflix called Comedian that's really good about the process.
And he's, let's see, what is the comedian that they're in a shop in I think it's the state of Washington, and they're in this souvenir store, and there's a mounted moose head on the wall, and Jerry Seinfeld says, you ever notice every one of those mounted heads has the same expression? Is that a gun?
That's good.
That's brilliant. That's good.
Yeah, and we both recommend, you picked as one of your favorite books, and I'm loving it, is his collection. He has a new collection of all his best material from across the decades called Is This Anything? Highly recommend it to people.
It is very good. And you can hear his voice as you read it.
Oh yeah.
And that adds
I have the audiobook too, which the thing about the audiobook, I have it on Audible, is he tells the jokes and that's fine, but it's not as much fun without an audience. And also really the audiobook is getting bad rap from fans because they have a weird British woman's voice that says topic, like the next topic, marriage. And it's like, what?
And that gets in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no fun. But book is great. So then what would you say your favorite funny TV show or shows are? You mentioned SNL, 30 Rock.
Oh yeah.
SNL and 30 Rock. Daily Show and Colbert.
Daily Show. It's really interesting what happens with the Daily Show. We were
Yeah.
Jon Stewart fans.
Yeah.
And Stephen Colbert, we would watch every once in a while the Colbert Report, and we would admire it. But now that Colbert is taking on the conservative side and making it funny daily, he's taken over for Jon Stewart, and his late night show is so much more enjoyable than he was on Comedy Central, even though Comedy Central gave it a start.
Okay.
And when Jon Stewart's on, or used to be on with Colbert, Jon Stewart would get in the way. You wanted to see more of Colbert, as opposed to what was before on the Comedy Central Daily Show. When Colbert would be on with Jon Stewart, Colbert would get in the way. Yeah. So it's real interesting how things change in that dynamic. But Colbert, I think, is brilliant too. What an improv. And you talk about instant commitment, he's got it too. Because when he's doing that shtick where he's pantomiming something with maybe some invisible item, it's like he's got it. He is so committed to that moment. He's actually got it in his hands, whether, I don't care if it's a pipe or a pen or whatever.
Gotcha. And then your favorite book, this is the last one. What would you say your favorite funny book of all time is? You mentioned to me, Is This Anything? And also A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. And what's odd to me is you famously read like a book a day or every 2 days or something. So how did you avoid Confederacy of Dunces for so long?
Well, funny you should mention it. You mentioned Entertainment Weekly magazine. In 2014, they published the 100 greatest novels ever written.
Okay.
And I decided to make that my mission. I'm going to start at number 100 and read all 100 of them.
Okay.
And number 58, I think, was A Confederacy of Dunces, which I finally read. And Carl, he can make a situation that is out of control, complete chaos, involving all the characters in that scene, and make it hilarious. He is a master at writing about chaos, a chaotic situation, and bringing out the humor in it. And his timing is phenomenal. He only wrote 2 books before he committed suicide.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wonder how the other one was.
It was accepted, but it wasn't that successful. But this one is a masterpiece.
Wow. All right. Well, I've had people, I don't think this is a compliment, because I have such a weird life and all sorts of weirdos around me, and my life's chaos in LA.
Obviously,
and Chicago.
You got me on.
They're like, "You're Ignatius Riley," and I'm like, "That's not a compliment." No. I don't know much in this world, but I know that's not a compliment.
That's the biggest laugh you've gotten out of me today, and you've gotten several.
Well, thank you. Well, hey, I know you got to go. So unless you have one
bills.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, thanks, folks.
By the way, been married 50 years.
Wow.
In August of this year, been married 50
Do you have a
years.
funny story about the wedding or marriage?
Oh, better not.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks.
Actually,
you can find
Actually, when I said I do, I will say this. When I said I do, out of the corner of my eye, my father-in-law went, "Damn it."
Oh my gosh. Well, I just want to tell people, of course, in Little Rock, you can find Craig Mondays through Fridays at the 10 o'clock. And do you also do 6? I forget. I watch at 10.
Do the 10 now because I'm semi-retired. I'm doing the news, and it's not funny unless I'm talking about politics.
But do you do 6 o'clock or just 10?
Used to. Now just do the 10.
All right, cool. Channel 11 KTHV.
That's
and
right.
You does the newscast stream for those who are curious outside of
THP11.com, ladies and gentlemen. THP11.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks. And it's been an honor. I appreciate you taking the time, sir.
Well, I love you. And now all I do is go to schools and read books. When pandemic ends, that's what I'm going to be doing. And it's my quest for another 9-year-old to make a star.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Carl.
Bye, folks. All right. 1 second.
Beautiful.
Okay. So this is good. I think we did good.
Beautiful.
So I will.
Do you edit these things?
No. What I learned to do was, I hope this isn't on there still. I hit end. I meant to hit pause, but hopefully it ended the recording. Yeah, it's not recording now. No, I'm terrible at tech stuff. I mean, I used to know how to do basic audio editing for podcasts, and then I let friends do my audio for years in exchange for free shows when I had my podcast business, and I lost track of how to do it. I want to relearn,
Yeah.
but I needed to get going on this, and because I originally was going to do this show in December, and I was like, you know what? If I keep dilly dallying, I'll never do it. So what I'm doing is a friend of mine named Brian Scalaro, he's a comic in LA. He does a thing like this where he interviews character actors he's worked with, and he just does it no frills. Just turns on the Zoom, and he's very careful about how he starts and ends so that it ends and starts cleanly anyway, and they
Huh.
just go with it. Because I don't have the wherewithal to figure out all the video stuff. What I'm going to do though, audio wise, is there's a service that I'm going to pay for. Amazing rate. It's $60 for 6 hours. So basically 6 episodes, $10 an episode. They will come up with a logo. They'll put music. They'll for the beginning and end, and let me approve it, and the logo approved, and then they buff out the sound, and then they distribute it for me on all the platforms.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, so I'm hoping this will be something that among the other people I've got uh, are two authors. Jerry Stahl's going to do it. He's like a cult figure and an Emmy nominated writer. And then there's, you ever seen Permanent Midnight with Ben Stiller by any chance?
No.
It's a lesser known movie of his. It was his first drama, and he played the story of Jerry Stahl, who was hiding a horrible heroin addiction while flying, while having a high flying Hollywood career. And anyway, so Jerry is was a guest once, and we hit it off, and he'll do anything, thankfully. And then I got Stephen Tobolowsky's going to do one. Who's another person that's like you, very very big part of my life, ongoing character actor. The guy in Groundhog Day does,
Right,
I'm
right.
Ned Ryerson. Yeah, he did 3 versions of my sitcom pilot. Like,
I
and
saw it.
and the third time he was like, uh, "Oh, you saw it? Okay, cool." The third time he was
I
like,
saw the first one, I think.
"Oh, I'll send you the third one's much better, much better." I got an agent out of it, but then nothing came further. But
Shoot.
yeah, so anyway, so Tobolowsky, AJ Jacobs, who's a New York Times #1 best-selling author, former editor of Esquire. Paul Rodriguez is going to do it. Like, so I'm getting a lot of good people, but you're the first.
Oh, cool. That is
Yeah,
way cool.
yeah. So I'll send this to you
Awesome,
when it's
man.
ready. So I'll send the video and the audio to you when they're up. But I might wait a couple weeks because the last thing I'll tell you is what I'm doing now. Otherwise, is my therapist told me a couple weeks ago. I was like worried that my podcasting days were going to screw my job search because I thought they would say, because I had a lot of wild stuff go on, and and we had shows that were both very liberal and very conservative, and so I could upset different employers different ways if they saw the shows that we had. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm screwed. There's no way to hide this. What do I do? And she just laughed. She never heard me talk about it before. And she goes, you got to embrace it. You got to take it head on. And that's that. And,
Hmm.
so she said, interview 10 to 12 key people like this, and do it just for yourself to feel good about yourself that you did what you did,
There you go.
and just post it on Facebook and your website for it.
Go. Just
And then
go. Just
so
do it. Hmm.
yeah, so then 12 people all said, "Oh my God, yeah, we'll do it. You should get so and so." Now I have over 50 people booked for interviews. I started already, and we're going to make a documentary. We're getting photos and videos from our shows, audio, everything. I made peace with past partners that we had blowouts, ending relationships with, and our goal is, one of my ex-partners works at Netflix in Atlanta now. He told his bosses about us because we had so many stars come through and discovered so many people, and because there was such a crazy scene. I'll explain more another time, but it was like Warhol's factory in the 2000s, or 2012s. And so the thing was that Netflix has promised that if we put together a demo or just go ahead and do it, they'll at least look at it. And if we don't get it there, we're going to shop it everywhere we can otherwise. But I think we're going to have a good shot because a lot of famous people are agreeing to come back and be filmed.
Oh,
like
that's
this.
cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. Well, all right, brother. I love
Thank
you.
you.
Keep
All
me
right, bye.
posted. All right, man.
Thanks. See ya.